We have reached the point in Michigan's journey where everybody that feels they can get a piece of them is 100% going to try to take a piece of them. And this felt like it was in the offing basically since August, when it became very loud about what Connor Stallions had done, what the sign stealing scandal had wrought, and whether or not Michigan's national championship would be at stake, what the NCAA is or isn't going to do about it. As we still are trying to figure out that resolution, we have seen Sharon Moore get off to what is not the start that Michigan has grown accustomed to basically since 2020. They are not a great football team, and they don't look anything like defending the Big Ten championship, and they certainly don't look like anything that is going to make the college football playoff. They look more like a team that might play in the ReliaQuest Bowl last year, like Wisconsin against LSU. And this is at a pivotal moment, I think, for Sharon Moore's first year. We're getting to the halfway mark when it's starting to really feel real what your record is. And as Bill Parcells is famous for saying, you are what your record says you are. Brett Bielema certainly has that thought going into Saturday's game against the Michigan Wolverines. He gave a really, I thought, interesting quote, because he's not the kind of dude that usually gets this fired up, but he was clearly emotional about losing to Michigan 19-17 in November 2022. And the quote is, "I'm 3-3 against them, and I didn't like the last one. Everybody's got their history. This game means a lot to me." And it means a lot to Illinois, frankly, because this game also puts you back into the national spotlight in a very real way. Not just because it's two top 25 teams that are matching up, but because a win against Michigan, who is the defending national champion, puts you back in a spot where we start talking about you as a team that can make the college football playoff. And while there's not the luster around this Michigan squad that there was at the start of the season, you still want to be a Big Ten team that beats them. Like, they were on a 27-game winning streak in Big Ten competition until Washington, oddly enough, in their first year, got the win that they were looking for in the national championship game in the Big Ten this season. Granted, totally different Michigan, totally different Washington program, but the fans of those teams are still the same, and I'm sure it means something, if not a lot, to Washington to get that W, because you felt like you could take advantage of a Michigan who really doesn't have an answer at quarterback yet. Maybe it's Jack Tuttle, who's going to get the start over Alex Orji against Illinois, but it ain't going to be, I think, Jack Tuttle that wins that game for them. It's going to be the strength of Michigan's football program this year, which is their defensive line. They're so good that when they get home, nobody remembers that Will Johnson plays in the secondary because they are not giving the quarterback an opportunity to really move the ball. I think with Luke Altmaier, you have a tremendous advantage at quarterback for Illinois. A guy who's been battle-tested, a guy who knows how to win, and came, I thought, out of nowhere last year to sort of kind of put Michigan, or Illinois on the map. And then this year, he's been playing great football for Barry Lunny and that offense. I mean, he and Pat Bryant have a real connection going on. And I think after last week, they know that anybody in the Big Ten can beat them, not just the ones with a number next to their name. So now, if you're Michigan, you're going, we ought to be able to score. Why? Well, because Illinois is probably going to let you if Purdue is anything to measure. Put it this way. I know that a lot of people are going to say that Purdue scored 40 points against Illinois in the second half. You get 40 points in a quarter, and you needed to win this game 50-49 in overtime. What I don't think that people are going to recognize is that it was with a first-time starter and with Ryan Walters, who's head coach, calling offensive plays for the very first time. A guy who said with a straight face, Thursday leading into the game, I didn't know if I could do it until I got into the game. And about 3 plays in, he's like, oh, okay, I think I can do this. Which I'll be curious to find out whether or not he's calling plays tonight, Friday, against Oregon. That could be fun, but not necessarily fun for Boilermaker fans. I don't know. We'll see. Still, Ryan Brown threw for 297 yards against Illinois last week, and they know that defense has got to get better. And if you're going to beat Illinois, there is a clear blueprint that's out there, and Penn State gave it to everybody. You get after them with your front seven. So in the win that Penn State had over Illinois, they had 7 sacks of the quarterback and 13 tackles for loss. There it is. With Josiah Stewart, with Mason Graham, you have guys that can get after the quarterback, guys that can be All-Americans at the position. And frankly, I think still today, one of the 10 best defensive lines in all of college football. It's just, are you going to be able to get there against Luke Altmaier? Is he going to make the right choices to make the right decisions? And if they can run the football at Illinois, that's all you want, because you're going to sit on the ball and you're going to run that pro-style scheme that Brett Bielema so very much loves. But a win for Illinois here not just puts them back in the college football playoff conversation, certainly would move them up in the rankings. It also puts them on schedule for a 10-win season. And I still think a 10-win Big Ten team has a chance to get into the college football playoff, whether they make the Big Ten championship game or not. So you got the loss against Penn State, number 3 team in the country right now. And you have a game left against Oregon next week. I think Oregon wins that game, right? And then you got Minnesota, Michigan State, Rutgers, and Northwestern. That's doable, right? That's doable. You're 5-1 against Michigan. You get this win, you get to bowl eligibility, and then you win 4 of your next 5. And 4 of your next 5 are winnable football games for the University of Illinois. And I would be hard-pressed to find a better story in the state of Illinois right now than the one that is going on for the Illini. Like, Northwestern was great last year. The Bears are the Bears. Jerry Reinsdorf is looking at selling the White Sox. But, look, as an outsider, right, a guy that's not from Illinois, every time they play football, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with their defense. I'm impressed with Luke Altmaier and his decision-making and his grit. I'm impressed with Pat Bryant on the outside. And I'm impressed with Brett Bielema, who took a program that was basically Colorado in the Pac-12, not really that much of an identity since 2007, and has really given that place a foundation to work from and a team that you can be proud of, and a team that I expect to play hard and play physical and be in every game that they play. The win against Nebraska was telling, right? They showed up in a way that, frankly, a lot of people had not yet, and they handed Nebraska its only loss. So now Nebraska beats its opponent on Saturday, big noon, Indiana. You got your only 2 losses are against top 25 opponents, because I think Nebraska gets back in the top 25 with a win against an undefeated and number 16 ranked Indiana. So it's all looking really good for Illinois. Meanwhile, for Michigan, you're in a gotta-have-it situation. You can't afford a 3rd loss in 7 games. Not really, right? I mean, you're probably going to get the bowl eligibility, but you were trying to hold on to being one of the 4 or 5 best teams in your conference. Forget being one of the 4 or 5 best teams in the sport. That's not happening. Like, if Florida State wasn't off to a 1-5 start, we would be talking about the start that Michigan is off to, which is not great. We talk about how they missed on quarterback 3 times, and we would talk about how Donovan Edwards has not become the Blake Corum dude that we thought he would become. We would talk about what it has meant to not have a guy like Roman Wilson on the outside and not have a guy like J.J. McCarthy in critical situations, who you're going to put him in great spots, right? Play action pass, but he can also get you out of trouble with his wheels and with his arm. You just don't have that at quarterback. And now we're not sure what to make of Michigan. And if they get a win against Illinois, maybe we feel better. I would certainly want to see better quarterback play for that to happen. But this is, I think, a low-key, sneaky, good Big Ten football game that, probably like this segment, a lot of people ain't going to watch.